The Skaven believe in nothing more than touchdowns and snorting warpstone like the Jesse Pinkman the first few seasons of Breaking Bad.
Bitch!
And with this guide we are going to look deep into these rodentine junkies and build the second best team ever made. First best being the Lizardmen. Now I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Blood Bowl 3 is in a bit of a state right now, so I'll be using the knowledge I've obtained in my trusty yet expensive handy dandy rulebook and past knowledge of the teams in previous games to build upon this one. Hopefully that clears things up, and since this is somewhat of a beginner's guide, will give you the groundwork to improve yourself. I'm also going to say that I do apologise if I sound a bit weird. I am suffering from the start of a little cold. Hopefully it doesn't get too in the way. Yeah. So with that said, I am Tech, and this is my ultimate guide to being the best Skaven coach you can possibly be. Probably. The Skaven are a fast-moving, agile team whose motto is score as much as you can before you die, because if you're going up against something bulky, that's probably what you're gonna do. They're like the Lizardmen to an extent. They use their high movement allowance to bomb it down the pitch for the touchdown or to sweep back and protect their leads. They are fairly cheap and have access to the mutation-based skills which in previous games altered their general appearance to grant them better tools to suit their needs. Need a better catcher? Extra arms. Need to improve your dodge rolls? Grow an extra head. The possibilities are endless. The same can't be said for their numbers, as while you can afford to lose a player or two, losing them is pretty much a given, as everyone has a pretty weak armor rating. But let's get into the pieces. In the order of cheapest to dearest, the Clanrat linemen are your standard expendables. They are fairly cheap at 50k, and for that 50k you get a mobile yet brittle meatbag with no skills to their name. In fact, they are so bread and water plain that the only easy access skill pool they have is General, which is fine as they are nothing more or nothing less than fodder for the enemy team to chew on while the real positionals get to work. But if you do get some good hits in, or even some MVPs along the way, first designate a kicker. This skill will reduce the amount of out of bounds potential and not make it so easy for the enemy team to get the ball. Next, we will want a dirty player with the skill of the same name. As I said, these guys are fodder players. Their job is to trade themselves to give your more important players chances to score a touchdown, and risking a sending off to potentially remove a high value target when they are prone is a great trade indeed. Hell, with bribes and the challenge to the ref's call, dirty player is probably a more beneficial skill than ever before. Now anyone else out of the linemen are there to take a hit and hopefully be able to drag the opponent down with them. Some skills like block that turn the double down result into the skill owner's favour, or wrestle which guarantees that the same double down stays just that with no turnovers or injuries on your end, will be greatly beneficial. Next we have the thrower, and at 85k this player at first glance doesn't seem like much of an improvement to the lineman, with all the same movement, strength, agility and armour, but it's the pass stat that makes them so
nice.
As the name states, the thrower is the American quarterback, the ball distributor, sending the ball on its merry way to the guys that will go on to score a touchdown. To help with this, they have the natural skills, pass and sure hands, allowing the thrower a free reroll on both their failed pass or pick up of the ball respectively. This does come with some downsides. One, the rerolls are just that, you can't use a team reroll on these checks. So if you get a second one on that pass reroll, well, turn over. Now the thrower not only has access to the general skill pool, but also the passing skill pool where the best of their skills come from. My choices for the long haul would be Accurate, Cannoneer, and Leader. Accurate gives you a +1 to your short and quick pass rolls, which are your most commonly used passes, while Cannoneer adds a 1 to your long pass and bombs. effectively completing the old accurate skill and making you a more all-around thrower. Leader is probably the least important of the three I'm choosing, as while its boon of the extra team reroll is freaking valuable, it will also make the thrower even more of a target, as you will lose that reroll if the leader is removed from the field. And with low armor, that could easily happen. Next is the Gutterunner, the main source of touchdowns. They have little to no strength and are as frail as the other units we've mentioned. But these be freaking fast.
I'm fast as boy.
They have 9 movement, making them one of, if not the fastest players in the game, and their +2 agility means that they can cut through defenses like a hot dagger through butter. They also have the natural skill of dodge, allowing them to reroll a failed dodge check once per turn, cementing that statement. And if they are on the receiving end of a block from the enemy team, dodge will make sure that these two are the only way this little blighter is going down. Seriously, these guys are as dangerous as they are frail, and you can have up to 4 of them, which depending on your playstyle in the long run, you defo want to. Skill wise, they have easy access to general and agility pools, and how you build them is dependent on what is needed. I will say though that having a 9 movement ball sacker is definitely something you'll want to invest in. This is more for my skinks from the LINEMAN, but it works with these guys if not better, because of that extra square. So the main skills for this is Wrestle and Dauntless. We already know what Wrestle does, but in regard to the Gutterunner, it now means that they can only knock you down and hurt your gutter baby with a POW. And as I said before, will protect said runner from injuries during those double downs. It also works the same way for a blitz on the enemy ball handler. The only things they can be safe with is a push or a skull. Unless they have dodge, everything else will just rip the ball away from them. It can even work on enemies stronger than you, so long as their red die has no skulls in it. But you want to avoid getting those red dies as much as humanly possible. That is where Dauntless comes in. This allows the weaker of the two parties to roll a d6, combining your strength with that roll's outcome. If the outcome is greater than the target, you match that target's strength value. So in a one-on-one situation, you've matched that target's value, you now have a block die in your favour. Combine that with Wrestle and well, this clip speaks for itself. The runner will still be weak to surfing however, so if you can, Sidestep is a valuable tool to allow you to make the choice of where you want to be pushed back to. I'd also look into getting block for your main ball carrier, as this will ensure that the opponent needs to get a POW result on their blocks to remove the ball from you unless they have Wrestle. Also, if you have the patience, go get some big mutations. Big hands and 2 heads can be great too, as there's nothing like ignoring an entire group of enemies marking the ball a la big hand, and the +1 to your dodge rolls from 2 heads means big bank. As even with a 4+ dodge, it's really now a 3+ dodge with a reroll attached. And probability wise, you have an even greater chance of getting through crowded spots with the ball. Next at 90k are the Skaven Blitzers, or Storm Vermin for the pre-2020 crew. These are your protectors, the guys that get in to crush some skulls. Strength wise, they are nothing really special, but they come with a natural block and pretty decent armor for a Skaven. You're only allowed 2 at any given time, and 2 you must have, as they are vital to your play, as they are the main source of removing enemy players from the field. With this they gain easy access to general and strength based skills, and again we have a few options. No matter what, Mighty Blow is a must for both blitzers. The added 1-2 armor break and injury checks can literally mean life or death for an opposing player. After that, it all depends on what you want from your blitzer. Tackle is useful to negate the dodge skill, ensuring the only way the usual ball handlers are getting out of this encounter is on a stretcher. Or you could go for strip ball to guarantee the ball fumbles on a pushback. After that, I would personally look into a guaranteed killer blitzer, at least for one of them. The Claw's mutation got a nerf as it no longer stacks with Mighty Blow, but if you get a natural 8 or higher, that armor is broken regardless, and trust me, that's a lot of power still. The only real questionable skill I'm on the fence about here is Pile Driver. This, before the days of 2020, was known as Pile On, where after a knockdown you could follow up with a dive attack for an extra chance at breaking the armor, very popular among killing players. Pile Driver does the exact same thing, but it is now stated as a free foul, thus potentially removing your big killer from the game. Linemen are expendable, but blitzers, not so much. Finally, the RATOGRE at 150k. This guy is a big old ball of fluffy death. At 5 strength it is very hard to bring down, and that prehensile tail taking 1 away from the enemy dodge, jump and leap checks mean it's harder to escape them. Add on top the Mighty Blow skill and the Frenzy skill granting them a second block off a push result, they can be quite deadly. The big downside is they are very much a double-edged sword thanks to Animal Savagery. This is the replacement for Wild Animal, a trait where you roll a d6 and if you got a 3 or lower, the Rogue becomes just that, a wild, untamable beast, listening to no one, unless they are blitzing where only a 1 will result in this giant toddler's tantrum. Now the Animal Savagery trait works similar to this, only now you can continue your turn so long as you have a teammate in close proximity, to which said teammate will face the RATOGRE's wrath, being knocked down, and because the Rogue has Mighty Blow, the opponent can and most likely will choose to use that +1 to potentially leave your teammate in a bad way. But your RATOGRE can now continue the turn uninterrupted. So it's Wild Animal with a very costly out if you have the wrong player next to the Rogue. You can opt for a team reroll, but thanks to the other big guy trait, Loner, it's more or less a wasted roll as you need 4 or higher just to get the reroll to activate. And this all doesn't help going along the fact that he's about as tanky as wet paper, as his armor is no different from that of a blitzer's, and the fact that he can commit 2 attacks in frenzy can also be a downfall if he's overrun with enemies. So yeah, a very difficult player to have, and is either used as a big tar pit to keep multiple enemies hunkered down, or your key blitzer in a big power play. Now the RATOGRE only has easy access to strength-based skills, and to make up for his shortcomings, the first skill I say is a must-have is Juggernaut. This skill removes the double down from a blitz and turns it into a pushback, triggering your frenzy. Then I would go with Break Tackle. It's taken a bit of a nerf in Blood Bowl 3 / the 2020 format, but it suits the big guys just fine. Because of the Rogue's 5 strength, it is allowed for 1 dodge check to increase the result by 2, effectively making for a very brief moment a giant ass Gutterunner, which can be useful in a quick reposition or blitz opportunity. Now as we come into building the teams, starting out there are a few ways. Ideally you want 2 rerolls and an apothecary alongside your 11 players. And unfortunately there's no way you can have your warp stone and snort it. The RATOGRE is very pricey, as are the other positionals, so you have to make a choice. Personally, I think if you're new and are a little worried about the beast management aspect of the Rogue, drop it and go for 4 gutter runners, 2 blitzers, the thrower, and fill the rest with linemen. This is also the bog standard score more than the other team. The forerunners can provide each other with bodies to remove the ball handler and protect each other. Personally, when I'm starting out, I like to use the RATOGRE as I'm used to the big dopes with the Croxy. So I removed 2 gutters initially, as really 2 is all you need. For the most part, having more gutter runners is probably the end game, but there are a lot of expensive bodies there, that you need to manage and get them skills flowing. As far as formations go, there are a bunch of standards that are used for every play. You want to make sure that on defense the RATOGRE is not on the line of scrimmage. With all the bodies that can be thrown against you from the offensive team, the rogue can easily be overwhelmed. So keeping him a square behind said line allows him the freedom of choice, and who knows, may lead to a nice isolated enemy player. Offense wise, you want the thrower to be positioned where they can easily pass to your gutter runners, somewhere around the center of the team logo. Now the biggest key to a Skaven team is their ability to touch down from a single turn. When you are on offense, so long as there is enough space in the enemy lines, we can set up a runner to be able to be pushed enough to cover the distance that a full rush can result in the golden down. This is used mainly to either pull one back or really try and establish an initial lead. To do this though, we need a few things: positioning and luck. Lots and lots of luck. So using this little clip from the previous game, we set up our position so that there is a gap between our gutter runner and the blitzer on the line. When the ball is kicked and we know we are in a good spot, we have the outer blitzer move in on the target, punch them into the space, following through to seal the gap. Then our line blitzer is going to go for a hopeful 3-line push on the opponent to move our gutter out of the scrummage. Then the bottom linesman is going for another 3-dice block to get that gutter runner into position. After that, we can pick up the ball, quick pass it to our second gutter runner, who will bomb it to our scoring runner, hand it off, and then one rush later, it's a touchdown. That's it. It's a very well-known strategy used best on dodgy teams. Maybe even a juggernaut blitzer can make it a bit more consistent outside of that, but it's something to remember and something to practice. Overall, the Skaven are a deadly yet fragile team. They can make touchdowns out of thin air, but they struggle to muscle stronger teams out of their play. Utilize that pace of the runners to get some early SPP and get the skills that will help you. Don't be afraid to foul with a linesman. Less enemy players on the pitch means less stress for you, and it's a good trade. To be honest, that's probably a good rule for Blood Bowl in general. And remember to have fun. Your team is gonna die. Probably a lot.
Ooh, that's bad.
But you'll score. Probably a lot.
That's good.
You just have to always remember to have fun with it. And keep that in mind, and the rats will take over this world. And if you want to help me take over this world, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, pile drive the bell thingy, and follow me on the Twitch and Twitters. Also, if you have any tips or tricks you found yourself, please let us know in the comment section below, and finally tune in next time where we choose another random team. But until that day, this has been Techno Odin. Stay safe, claim skulls, smash bosses, and may Nuffle bless your dice.
Bitch!